got shot.
It was life and death.
Somebody's killed your son.
I think both sides have to come together.
When it comes to African-American men, we only get the mug shot.
You know, it's abnormal.
Was it really worth it?
You gotta be the tough guy.
Tim Jackson presents How to Kill a Black Man, available on Amazon Prime Direct. This is the No More OGs podcast. From controversial topics to creating financial freedom, we will talk to real people about real situations, providing real solutions. No celebrity endorsements, bringing you unfiltered discussions, dope interviews, and giving you the blueprint to create the culture that you will be proud of. So kick back, turn up the volume, and let's get to it. Here's your host, yours truly, Mr. Purpose on Demand, Mr. Retired at 37, Mr. Tim Jackson. What's going on? It's your man, Tim Jackson with the No More OGs podcast. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. I got a really special guest in the building, but before I introduce our guest, I want to make sure that you all click the link in the bios below and descriptions below. Get tapped into the $9 Academy. I am eliminating excuses, life lessons that you were never taught, albeit real estate, finance, saving, anything you can think of. We're dropping lessons on there, and they're $9 a piece. We're not trying to break the bank. So make sure you follow me on all social media outlets at Tim Jackson Now, and of course at No More OGs. But man, with that being said, I got a very special guest today in the building. You all, I'm bringing you people that are real life, authentic people that you can actually reach out and touch and get in contact with, specifically if you're looking to achieve a common goal. And this individual has a platform that's 100% dedicated to uplifting black men. Now, you all know how I feel about that. We have the documentary, How to Kill a Black Man, dropping this year, July 7th. So anytime I find someone who's talking about issues or topics that are going to provide a solution to some common problems, and that's the person I want to have a conversation with. So without further ado, I want to introduce to some, present to others, Mr. Kizzle, a Black Man. Express yourself. What's going on, my guy?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I can't complain. I stumbled up on you because I know you were in town to do a podcast, and you reached out to me like a lot of people from out of town to use a studio. And then I looked at your platform, like, I can rock with this, man. I like what he's talking about. In today's day and age, people want you to agree with them 100% of the times, which I don't with anyone. But I like the fact that you have created a platform that is specifically dedicated to encouraging black men. So can you kind of talk about who you are, where you're from, and why you felt the need to create such a platform?
Yeah, so my name is Kizzle. I'm the founder of Express Yourself Black Man. And what we do is we create a community of healing for black men specifically. And I got into this and mental health advocacy a few years ago. I went through my own battles with depression, suicidal ideations. And around that time, I realized we don't have enough spaces as black men for us to feel comfortable talking about these things. And as a result, we end up internalizing a lot of it, which ends up resulting in things like burnout, anxiety attacks, depression, suicidal ideations. And so I started something around that time called a Kizzle brand, which is a project aimed at raising awareness for depression and helping people through difficult times. And then that expanded into Express Yourself Black Man, which is a platform that you see today. So I started over 2 years ago. And initially it was just a podcast. And so what I would do is just, I was in therapy and I was learning a lot about myself. Yeah. And I know that therapy isn't accessible for everybody, unfortunately. It may be, and it may not be affordable for everybody, unfortunately. And so I wanted to give the same lessons that I was learning in therapy to other black men that may have needed it. So it started that, and it started just initially as a podcast, and then it expanded into social media, giving affirmations to black men in the morning, posting 2 reels, 2 different videos, talking about different topics throughout the day, and then in the evening posting something that's a little bit more conversational, trying to get more solution oriented. And that can be like a carousel slide post. It can be affirmations in a slide post. It can be a Twitter thread. Just trying to get the conversation started, and then not even just only the conversation started, trying to get black men towards solutions. And along the line of that, we decided to create a platform called Safe Haven. So Safe Haven is our holistic healing platform. I always tell people social media is great, but you can't just heal off of social media, right? You can get a lot of information off of social media, but you still got to get connected with the resources in real time, in real life, right? And so what we do inside of Safe Haven is we connect black men with those resources. So we have therapists that act as coaches. that will coach black men throughout the states, even internationally. And then we also have doctors that we have vetted that we can pair black men with. We have a partnership with a nonprofit organization that goes and vets doctors in different black neighborhoods or black areas. And if a black man is looking for a doctor, because sometimes, it can be hard for us to find a doctor that we trust, that organization will make sure that they go and vet that doctor and get them to the appointment and from the appointment as well. We do that. We do meditation in the morning, weekly meditation. So Monday and Wednesdays, we do groups, psychoeducational groups. So we have a black therapist that leads a psychoeducational group twice a month. And then we also have community forums. So that's led by a moderator inside of Safe Haven. And we do that twice a month as well. There's a lot of stuff that we do to try and get black men connected with resources, man. So it
sounds like a lot, but you know what? It's never really enough. Yeah. And as a former military veteran, I definitely understand the importance of mental health. A lot of people that served with me specifically during wartime, situations, they struggle with mental health.
Right.
And as a black man who is a real big advocate of mental health, I understand how super hard it is to find someone to talk to about our problems. We have a mentoring program, real youth mentoring. From ages 10 to 18, we teach boys entrepreneurship, leadership, how to be better citizens within their community. We travel with them. We give out scholarships. And one of the things that we do is we provide legal services and mental health services to them. And when I tell you finding the right mental health provider for our boys was like the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. We had one guy who was there for years, but then he ended up moving to a different location.
Right.
And if I can be completely honest with you, we haven't found anyone to replace him because from our experience, and I know I'm going to get some hate mail, I might get some ads, but from our experience, a lot of the people who are not black men who sit up online and promote mental health don't really fuck with black men like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll never forget, like, going to Twitter and going to Facebook and just looking up some of the people who are like, yeah, you should check into this person. I always did my due diligence. And then I would go and find a tweet where they're like, oh, black men ain't shit. And it's like, oh, you too? You know what I'm saying? Like, how are we going to come to you and say, you're promoting that we all need to talk to a therapist, but then you scroll down just 6 months ago and you talking about how all black men ain't shit. Like, how can a person come into a safe space with the expectation of, believing that you're going to advocate for them and give them exactly what they need when you have a skewed perception of black men based on your past traumas, right?
Right.
And so a lot of dudes was like, man, I just rather just deal with it on my own, which typically is through substance abuse.
Right.
And man, that's a hard thing to find. So I really commend you for having a process that vets and finds people, because on one coin, it's like we want to go sit down and talk to our people because we feel like they'll understand our issues. But then on the flip side, it gets even smaller of a percentage of people who we can talk to because there's not a lot of men in that profession. Yeah.
And I don't want to cut you off, but I want to speak to that because you said something very, 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 very important, right? Which is finding people that we trust. Yeah. Right? Because what I've realized in this space too is that not everybody has our best, our interests at heart. That's right? For some people, this is just a job, just like everything else, right? It's just, okay, I come in, I know I'm getting paid this amount of hour, I see this many clients. If I see this number of clients, by the end of the week, I have this number, this number that I'm hitting, and that's all it is for me.
It's a numbers game.
It's a numbers game for me, right? And so I don't even remember stories. I don't remember what's going on in my clients' lives. I'm not really taking the proper notes, and I'm not as intentional about making sure that they're I'm facilitating the healing process for them because I don't really care that much.
I saw I saw a lady post the other day and she was like, oh, I got 8 sessions worth of notes backed up that I have to sit down and do this weekend. I'm like, damn, how are you going to effectively write down 8 sessions worth of notes? Yeah. Like, it's hard to get 1 or 2 sessions, right?
Yeah, and then the thing is too, right? So that's another aspect of what you're talking about is the fact that because we're in a mental health crisis in this country, there's a lot of black therapists that just don't have capacity, right? And so because of that, they end up getting backed up on those. So they have a bunch of clients and they're running into burnout. So they're in sessions where they're tired, they're yawning, all these different kind of things. It's just not allowing for the session to be as beneficial for the actual client because the therapists themselves are, they're burnt out, right? And so what we do to try and combat a lot of that is, one, the vetting process, right? So we're not just letting every and anybody in, right? So if you go on many directories today, what you'll see is they have a process for how they technically vet a therapist, but most of the times it's really just an application. As long as you have your licenses and everything together, you're going to get listed on that directory, right? So for us, we don't do that. Right. What we end up doing is you'll apply. Once you apply, we look through to see your responses to the application. You can end up getting waitlisted just off of your responses because we don't like the response and we don't think that you actually have enough experience working with black men. There's a difference between working as a therapist and having experience working with black men.
It's a huge difference.
Right. You know what I'm saying? You can have all the credentials in the world. I don't give a fuck about credentials. Yeah. Excuse my language, right? I care.
You can cuss here.
Right. I care more about do you have experience working with black men and actually helping black men with the problems that they face. Yeah. Right. And if you do, okay, cool, let's have a conversation. So then that's the next part of it, right? We go into having a conversation. I don't even like calling it an interview because it's not an interview, right? I have a conversation with them. That could be 30 minutes, could be an hour, whatever the case may be. And we talk through like, okay, cool. These are the black men that we have. These are some of the things that they're going through. What are you seeing with the clients that you've worked with, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. You've seen this. How do you help clients work through that? And if I feel like in that session that solution that you have or that you feel like, or if I feel like in that conversation that therapist doesn't know how to come to solutions that are actually going to help black men, then you're not gonna get forwarded into our program. So then after that, we also have them sign a contract that they're going to work with black men, that they're going to have a certain level of expertise, but not only just expertise, a certain level of professionalism that they carry, that they're not just going to treat this like how they would treat maybe different sessions, right?
Yeah,
and
like a code of ethics.
Right, exactly. The code of ethics is a standard operating procedures, right? And we do all of that to make sure by the time you come into the program, there aren't any issues, right? So when you come into the program and a black man is working with you, I know that whoever I brought into the Safe Haven program to coach black men is a therapist that I would work with my damn self, right? You get what I'm saying? Because I don't want black men to come in and have that negative experience. I don't want somebody coming in and feeling like, okay, I can't talk to this person because of this, and this. Like, nah, we go through the vetting process to make sure that whoever you get paired with, you can actually be able to go through that healing process with them. And if you can't for some reason, we have people that you can work with to help you find somebody else.
No, this is often their last stop. Right. So, after this happens, like, see, I told you I couldn't trust nobody.
Exactly.
So it's like, I done found this black space for black men, and then they on that bullshit too, but y'all not. But let's talk about that. Like, why do you feel like it's so important for black men just in general to get therapy? Right.
For me personally, I know what it's done for me in my life. Yeah. Right. And so I always say this to black men. Like, I remember before I started therapy, I thought I was so self-aware. Like, I was like, man, I know this about myself. Every time I go through something, I do like the self-reflection, introspection, and I'm growing as an individual. And then I started therapy, and I was like, fuck. You know what I'm saying?
I be on that bullshit.
Yeah, I was like, man, I don't know as much as I think I know about myself, right? Yeah. I started with a black woman, and she's still my therapist to this day. We started over 2 years ago, and I started learning all these different things about myself, and it started to help me to really connect the dots on things that I was realizing were patterns. So I was getting into relationships where I was seeking out physical love from women because I didn't really get that at home. And I couldn't connect the dots on why I felt like I needed to be in a relationship. But I just knew I needed to be in one. I didn't want to be single. I didn't feel comfortable being single. And it wasn't until I got into therapy and started doing that work that I was able to connect those dots. That I was able to start really going through my healing process to understand what singleness is, how to be an individual, how to maximize my individuality so that when I actually do get into the relationship with the right person, I'm not sabotaging that. Because, of course, we want to be in relationships and we want those things to work. But in order for them to work, we have to work on ourselves, right? And so that being in therapy helped me to do the work on myself to make sure that I wasn't sabotaging my future, whether it be in relationships, whether it be at work, whether it be in business, right? Because all of these things are interconnected. So the reason for me, I would say therapy was, I always tell people this, therapy was really one of the best investments I made in my life. And that's why I'm such an advocate for it, because I understand what it's done for me. And I want to make sure that whoever is interested in it and can afford it can get it. And that's why we have the program inside of Safe Haven. So let me ask you this question right here. What struggles do you have with convincing black men, specifically the ones that like, this is my cousin, this is my dad or uncle or my homeboy that I went to school with, somebody I used to run the streets with, whatever, you put them in whichever box, like, and they constantly have
the same issues over and over and over. And it's like, bro, have you ever considered therapy? Like, what's some of the pushback you get, and why do you feel like you receive that type of pushback when it comes to having those conversations? Because that's a tough conversation.
Yeah, you use an interesting word, convince, right? I never try to convince anybody, but if I were to have the conversation, I let them tell me where they are, right?
Yeah.
So, perfect example would be like somebody's going through something, and I know they're going through it, and then they feel comfortable opening up to me, right? So we start talking about it, like, okay, I'm going through this breakup, and I feel this way about myself, and I can't believe this is going on, blah blah blah. Simple question I always ask them is, have you considered talking to somebody? You know what I'm saying? Have you considered talking to somebody? Everybody knows what that means, right? So from there, I will gauge whether they're interested in it or not. If their answer is, nah, I don't know, I just don't know who I'll be interested in, then we can have a conversation. Like they're opening the door for us to have a conversation about who they would want to be paired with as a therapist. But if their answer is like, nah, I don't need that, there's no convincing, right? From there, I would go into, okay, cool, I understand, and then I'll tell them how it's helped me. Right. And if you haven't been in therapy and you don't have that experience, then you can say, yo, I know this platform, Express Yourself Black Man, Safe Haven, whatever the case may be. I think you should take a look at that and just see. Right. And this is what I tell people all the time. Like, you can't convince somebody to go do the work.
Right.
They have to be ready and willing to do it, because when you try to convince somebody to do it, what ends up happening is they'll start, but they don't have the commitment within themselves. They don't have that intrinsic motivation to continue when they run into roadblocks. Because healing is not just this beautiful, sexy process. It's terrible at first, right? When you first start learning all these things about yourself and learn all the work that you have to do, it can be very daunting, right? So if you don't have that intrinsic motivation to keep going, a lot of people stop, right? And those are the people that were trying to do it because of somebody else, because mom and dad said I needed to do it, or because I'm doing it because I want to get back with my girl. Like, nah, bro, you got to do it for yourself. So I never try to really convince anybody. I try to use myself as an example. That's why I talk about my story so much, because I want Black men to see themselves in me and understand, like, okay, this dude was here and this is where I'm at right now. And therapy was a medium that he used to get to this place that I want to be. And in order for me to get to that place, maybe therapy will be helpful for me. So maybe I should start it. So I never try to convince. I just try to have the conversation, express myself, and talk about the things that I've been through, and hope that a Black man sees himself within me, and then we can kind of have the conversation from there. So I always tell people, if you're looking to try and get somebody to take the path of going through therapy, have them follow the platform and just see the things that we talk about, right? A lot of times I'll open up the conversation. I call it leading with vulnerability, right? When I talk about the things that I've been through, it gives you the space to feel comfortable talking about the things that you've been through, because you can see yourself in me, right? So I lead with vulnerability, and that creates an environment where we actually have that safe space, because you know that there's somebody else in the room that's been through the same things that you've been through.
No, I can respect that. You know, I have this tagline: you don't have to convince your target audience. So if I find myself ever, like, if I'm telling you something and you pushing back, it's not for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't even do a rebuttal. Like,
right.
you know, because when you typically need something in your life, specifically if you're a spiritual person, you've been praying for it or you've been meditating about it, and then that thing comes in your life and you're pushing back, it's like, well, you don't really want it right now. Because
right.
when something comes up in my life that I've been seeking for, like, as soon as I see just a small ounce of it, I'm like, oh, okay, let me go over there and do that. You know what I'm saying? So, man, that's interesting, because, you know, like I said, I know a lot of people who just won't go to therapy, you know, especially older, you know, Black men, you know, that older generation, that generation that didn't hug you, you know, that generation that, you know, I went to work every day and put food on the table. So that's why I love you. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, within our society, within our culture, if you want to go deeper, it's like we promote, you know, that not really giving a fuck attitude as being a man, or we promote, you know, not necessarily articulating yourself as being a man. And then when you have a man that knows how to articulate himself, oh, well, he's soft, or this, you know, you a Cancer, so you sensitive, or you know, we just find any type of hole or you know, box to place people in. And honestly, they're just, you know, communicative. Like, they know how to specifically tell you, hey, this is something that triggers me, and in order for me to not respond a certain kind of way, we need to go a different direction. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I want to dive into something else, because like I said, I think that it's really important that you have a platform for black men. Why just black men? And that's not why just black men? I asked this, and I'm being very strategic when I say it, because I get this question a lot whenever I tell people about my documentary, and I say I have a documentary called How to Kill a Black Man, and it's always somebody goofy like, well, first of all, black on black crime. They throw all the normal speaking points, but then they always try to make it about them too.
Right.
And I always tell people, if you can solve the problem of the black man, you can solve the problem of the world.
Right.
Because we're literally the last. We're last place in every negative statistical category outside of parenting, because we're really good parents, right? But when it comes to financial situations, economic, when it comes to things that are related to society and social, like, we are always looked upon at the bottom. We are always the example for enforcement. So you see all these people going to prison and getting locked up for 20, 30 years, and it's like, oh, they didn't even do it. And then it's like, well, we're sorry. We'll just pat you in the back and give you a certificate and parade you around City Hall. But like, why is it important for you specifically to say, express yourself black man? Like, no knock to anybody else, but this is for us.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, I don't give a fuck about everybody else. So that's the truth, right? Like, if I'm being very blunt, I don't care about the world. I care about the black community. That's like, and that's what it takes for me, right? Like, I feel like inside of the black community, we have the black family. And when we look at the black family, what makes up the black family, if we're talking about straight families, right, we're talking about a black man and a black woman, right? And when the black man is down, when the black man can't do what he needs to do to make sure that he provides for his family, and I'm not talking about just providing financially, right? Because there's a lot of black boys and black girls, black children, black people in general that have wounds from their fathers, and it's not because he didn't provide financially, it's because he probably wasn't there emotionally, or whatever the case may be, right? And so that's why it's important for me to say, express yourself, black man, right? Because in order for us to heal and create a better black community, the black man has to be present, and not just present in the sense of I'm providing financially. Present in the sense of I'm also nurturing and taking care of my child or my children. I'm also taking care of the partner that I have. I'm taking care of the community around me. When a black man is healing and doing the work that he needs to do, the black community is automatically better. You know what I'm saying? Look at what happened with me. Just one black man doing the work. Yeah. Now we have an entire platform and community around this, right? So I always see it. When a black man is able to really stand on his own, take care of his business, and also nurture and be present for the people around him, the community gets better. And so for me, that's the reason why I say express yourself, black man. And to be honest, I don't give a fuck about any other demographic, right? And I don't care what anybody else has to say about it, because I understand the work that I'm doing, and I know that it's needed in the black community. I was just having a conversation with somebody the other day. They asked me the same question. They said, well, but why just black men, right? And because when people are outside of the demographic, they can't understand it, right? So like, why?
They understand that shit. I'm cynical. Yeah, okay. So I, working in politics, specifically here in Dallas, and just my background and shit, like, motherfuckers know what's going on. Like, it's people play dumb, and you have to have the uncanny ability to be able to say you playing dumb right now. Like, you cut on the TV, the imagery of black men is just shitty, And I talk to people who come from like different countries, like, who literally before they get over here, they're told and they're instructed like not to fuck with black men in the United States, like not to come over here, don't deal with us. We're all criminals, we're all crooks. We'll try to kill you, we'll try to rape you. Like, I grew up in a very, very diverse area where literally all of my neighbors were like from different countries, and we lived in what's the hood now. It was a middle class neighborhood then, and just having conversations with them, like, some of their parents didn't fool with us, right? It took the kids' generations, the ones that's my age and younger, to say, no, mom, that's not what it really is. But a lot of people are coached when they come over here not to fuck with us for whatever reason. So there's just a myriad of negativity that's always associated with us, and then people play dumb when you say you're trying to help black kids. So black men, and let me say this: I started my mentoring program here in Dallas. We've been operating for about 7 years now. We hit our 7th year this year. I'll never forget when I started that mentoring program. I would go to schools and gyms and say, hey, can we come and meet here? And schools specifically would tell me, yeah, man, you can come and you can use our facilities. As long as you're a 501c3 registered nonprofit organization, we'll give you the facility for like $20 an hour. I'm talking about on the low, right? And so I went through and did all the paperwork for the facilities. and got my nonprofit organization, did everything that I was told to do. And then I came back and said, all right, here's my paperwork. Let's get started. Okay, well, tell us more about the program. Well, I already explained to you that, it's a program that's dedicated towards teaching young black men entrepreneurship, leadership, how to be better citizens within the community. We take them to travel. We provide tutors for them. We provide attorneys for them. And I'm just telling them all this shit. And one by one, they're like, oh, yeah, that's not inclusive enough.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but you let a church meet here on Sundays. And the last time I checked, no knock to any church, but you have to be a member of a church and that to attend. And churches tend not to be, they tend to be not inclusive. Like you have to subscribe to a certain religious philosophy and agree to those principles. So like there's no difference in what they're doing. I'm a nonprofit. Like you literally told me to get a nonprofit organization. And I saw that so many times going into places, and sadly to be our people gatekeeping for white people who just weren't willing to say, hey, we don't want you to do it. So they'll send somebody like me to say you can't do it. And it's like, yeah, I'm doing this for black men, because if we not singing a song, playing a sport, or doing a dance, y'all don't really fuck with us like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And let me speak to the inclusivity part, right? I don't care about being inclusive to other demographics.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because other demographics haven't been inclusive to black men. Think about it, right? Think about it. How many black men mental health organizations do you know of? Can you name 5 off the top? You can't even name 5.
Nope.
I'm in the field and I can barely name 4.
And
you get what I'm saying?
They're probably all in one area.
And most of them are in one area trying to expand to now do nationwide coverage, right?
Get funding for shit.
So that's part of it, right? And so when I think about it, it's like, yo, this is a huge problem. That's what I told the guy that asked me. He was like, why do you do it just for black men? I said, name 3 black men mental health organizations. He couldn't name one. And I was like, this is why. Right? Because there aren't many organizations that prioritize black men.
Just go to some of the main
No,
streams,
this is what I'm talking about, right? When we talk about
exactly, we're all the same.
Nah.
Right?
When we talk about inclusivity, right? most products and solutions in the United States, just in the world in general, are not built with the black person, let alone the black man in mind, right? And this is why I take pride in what I do, right? Because I don't want black men coming into this thinking that, oh, this is just another black, you know what the stereotype is about black-owned businesses, right? That it's just bad service. Yeah. You're not going to get things on time. You're going to have to deal with a bunch of issues.
Nigga shit.
Yeah, nigga shit.
That's
I don't want people thinking that they're coming into Safe Haven or Express Yourself Black Man and you getting a bunch of nigga shit. You're not. When I build a solution out, I build it out with black men in mind, and I build it out understanding what the experience should be from onboarding to offboarding. I don't care if you're not paying money anymore or if you're paying me money now. Regardless of what the situation is, you're going to come in and you're going to get a great experience, right? And the people inside of Safe Haven, even if they have left, can testify to that. Sometimes I'll help people that have left that aren't paying the monthly subscription anymore. Why? Because I understand it's not just about you putting revenue into the business. Is about making sure that I help you. The mission is always for me to help you, and the goal, the driver behind that mission is impact over profit. I want to make sure that I impact you positively more than anything, right? So I'm not trying to grab as much money from you as possible. Nah, it's about making sure that I impact you and help you and building solutions with you in mind, understanding what you are looking for from solutions. So when I think about inclusivity, what I'm doing right now is the most inclusive thing that I could possibly be doing, because there aren't enough solutions for black men in mind.
There are solutions, and this will be a little controversial.
Nah, go ahead.
I'm going to say it because it's a conversation that needs to be had. Specifically, if it's mainstream, you have to fit into a certain category.
True.
So you either got to be an athlete, you have to be some sort of an entertainer. If you fall into a protected category like the LGBTQ community, there's tons of resources for you. But if you're a heterosexual black male trying to have a wife and a kid and just live your life without fucking with nobody, you on your own. And people are so afraid to say that out loud because people don't want to get canceled, man. Like,
I don't think there's nothing to be, that's I don't think that's a cancelable thing, right? Like, if that's your experience, that's your experience. You're not hating on any
not hating on anybody,
demographic.
but you know how it is, you know, I always say these videos will resurface 5 or 6 years from now when I'm really, really doing it, you know, and people try to make it seem like I'm being this way or that way, and I don't give a fuck. Y'all can run it over and over and over. Make sure you say the part about me not giving a fuck, because my stance will never change. But you know, that's the thing. So it's like a lot of black men, you know, we fall back and we step out of the conversation because we understand that there's never really a solution that's tied to or oriented with our conversation. It's like, oh, well, you know, get it together, nigga, you'll figure it out. It's like, no, I'm genuinely trying to heal myself so that I can be a better version of myself. Yeah, I know how to go out there and make money, but, you know, once I get the money, what am I going to do with it? Do I have the mental capacity to spend it right? Like, it's always just well, you'll figure it out because you a man, be a man. And a lot of black men don't like having these conversations because they're not led by black men. The problem and the solutions for black men are all essentially led by women. And they're telling us what we need to do. And if you say anything back to them, oh, you hate you hate black women. Who hurt you? You know, that's my favorite one. Who hurt you? It's just like, no, I'm just responding to the fact that I don't necessarily agree with you. And that's okay. You know, it's okay for us to disagree from time to time. But, you know, rest in peace, Kevin Samuels, whether you hated him or not. You know, that was somebody who would literally just kind of call and challenge the norm and got a lot of heat from it. And no one really fucked with him when he was telling black men to get their shit together. You know, for the first couple of years when he was doing his things, and I didn't never listen to his stuff. I'm not advocating or saying I'm a fan, but I did do some research after he passed, and I said, man, this dude was out there telling black men, hey, you need to get it together. You need to go to therapy. You need to go talk to someone about this. You need to go, you know, get out off your mama couch and shit. And you know what we were saying? We were like, damn, you know, you're right. You're right, Kevin. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you go back and listen to his old shit that wasn't going viral, it was when he started talking crazy to women and they started having a fit about it that it became something. But then again, you still see a lot of black men in the shadows afraid to say anything because they don't want that label on them as, oh, I don't want to be labeled as somebody that doesn't like black women, even though I have a mother, a sister, a daughter. I don't want to be someone who's insensitive to this topic because I understand that the enforcement is going to come down on me. The labeling is going to be attached to me. The criticism will always be stuck with me, and everyone else will just kind of see me as the example of what not to do. Right. You want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Kevin Samuels at all. I think I understand his past, you know, like the older stuff where he's talking about black men. Yeah. Where I say I'm not a fan specifically is we don't need to bring down black women in order to uplift black men, right? So what I try to do to make sure that people like we're going about this process the right way, in my opinion, is we focus on black men's accountability. We don't leave black women out of the conversation at all. Yeah. We talk about issues with black women, but there's a way in which you talk about it, right? Where you don't have to demean, insult, berate, whatever the case may be, scold, however you think about it, black woman in order to get the point across, right? Because I have conversations with black women on the platform all the time. I'll challenge black women on the platform all the time, but it's the way that it's the way in which you do it. It's the way you do it. Like, it's the way in which you do it.
And that's an art in itself. Because, you know, like with me, I do a lot of public speaking. I can challenge any theory, right? And I always go back to the foundation and the facts. Like, I'm not going to attack you. I'm not going to call you ugly or, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to insult you personally. Like, let's stick to the facts.
Right.
And I noticed that when you start having fact-based conversations with men, if they feel like they can trust you, if they feel like, okay, this dude's not on that bullshit, they'll listen.
For the most part. But also, we got to understand too, right? We always like to play the game that like women are very hyper emotional and that we aren't emotional. Men are emotional as shit. Very emotional, bro. And if you look at like even Kevin Samuels, right? If Kevin Samuels was to flip like towards the end of his, of his life, the way that he created those conversations, if he was to take that same style and apply it straight to black men, where it's just criticizing, berating, insulting, demeaning black men, we would be upset as well. You get what I'm saying? Like, we wouldn't just say, oh, it's just all facts and like this is just how it is. Like, nah, bro. Because I was doing that. Let me tell you this, right? I did not because I was doing it intentionally, but because that's the way that I communicate with my bros. Like, I don't communicate where I'm like berating or insulting them, but I speak with a certain level of passion, and it can sound like
you be on some, come on, man, like get the shit together.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And it can sound like I'm being hypercritical, right? So when I was creating content like that, I would have black men come to the community like, yo, bro, why you talking to us like this, blah, blah. Yo, but the stuff that I was saying was facts. It's just that they couldn't receive it because they were getting emotionally triggered. So I don't like the conversation around like, well, men are more logical than women, and that we is logical with feelings, because I've seen in this community that I'm building that men are hyper emotional, and we need to be catered to, and we need to be spoken to in a way in which we can receive, and that just goes for all human beings. And so that's why I can't really rock with Kevin Samuels, because if you're really trying to impact a bunch of people and make sure that people are really receiving your message, you have to tailor and craft the way that you say it in a way.
No, you're hitting on to something, because a friend of mine who listens to the podcast and watches the show, you know, he sees some of my social media content. He's like, bro, I love what you're doing, but you're gonna have to tone it down. I'm like, what do you mean? And you know, he said, you know, you have a lot of good speaking points, but you're really hard on men. Yeah. And I said, well, I don't want to say I'm hard on men. I'm kind of consistent across the board. He's like, nah, man, your target audience is gonna be a bunch of, you know, street dudes, tough dudes that's done been through some shit that's coming to you. But what you don't realize, and he was in prison for like 20 years. He says these are some of the most sensitive men that you've ever met in your life. That's why they ended up in prison a lot of times, because they couldn't.
They made an emotional decision.
They made an emotional decision for 5 seconds of their life that cost them 20 years of their life. And he said, you're gonna have to start peeling back the layers a little slow. And I said, well, man, let me ask you something. And this is just me being cynical. I said, the rappers don't do that. You know, when they telling us to go out there to, you know, get high, get drunk, fuck bitches, and kill niggas, they don't say, you know, it is my theory that you should go get inebriated this weekend and make sure that you have a few drinks. And if someone double crosses you, then you should take out your sidearm, you know, project a round into the chamber, and, you know, just disassociate them from this earth. And then afterwards, you should go call your lady friend and fornicate with her. It's not that eloquent, and it's like, this is just my theory. Like,
I'm gonna ask you a question after this.
Yeah, I want you to, because that's what these conversations are for. And this is why you see guys like Charleston White. You know, again, that's why you see him getting so much attention right now, because he's just ripping the Band-Aid off. And I don't agree with, like I said, most of these guys, I don't agree with half the shit they say. I just see it as entertainment. But when you think about the algorithm, and I'll toss it back to you in a minute. People always blame black people not seeing good images of ourselves on social media due to the algorithm. And I feel like it has a small percentage. But what we watch also controls our algorithm. If I get a brand new phone and log into a brand new account, and I go to puppy videos and I scroll through and watch that entire video, the next one's gonna be a puppy video. The next one's, because it's learning me. Well, if on the flip side of that, I'm not consuming content like yours that's telling me I'm a positive black man, that I have all these options, that life is good, that everyone is going through what I'm going through, and I feel like I'm in a box and that nobody understands me, but rather I'm consuming shit that's telling me get high, get drunk, fuck bitches, kill niggas. At what point in the game is it on me to say, nah, man, let me take a step back and look at my own life, and not expect for Kizzle to come and just wave this magic wand, because what Kizzle has for me requires work.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? So you said a lot of good stuff.
I said a lot of shit.
No. You said a lot of good stuff in there, right?
Yeah.
My only question to you is, why are we making rappers the standard of how we communicate with our community?
Let's talk about that. I personally think that's the dumbest shit in the world. But I also understand how marketing works, and I also am a person who's, wait for it, spent hundreds of thousands of dollars pouring into my community, teaching young kids, hey, you are bigger than this. You don't have to be this stereotype. When I go to schools and I say, hey, what do you want to be with? If I go to a school on the white side of town, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be an attorney. I want to be an engineer. I want to be this one. I go to the school on the black side of town. What do you want to be? Well, I want to go to the league. And it's just like, no. I'm not saying you can't go to the league, dude, but that should be the cherry on top, not the cake. So what I do now when I go speak to kids and I get in front of 100 kids, I say, all right, who in here wants to go to the league? Me. All right, take out your phone right now. Shoot a video right now and say, whoever your favorite person is, my name is such and such at such and such elementary school. There's a guy by the name of Tim Jackson who's here right now, and he'll pay whatever your speaking fee is to come and speak to us, or to help us become better people, and to do whatever you do. And I say, send that to them, and when they respond, send it back to me, and I'll have my publicist get in contact with them, and I'll pay whatever their fee is. I'm at 100% niggas don't ever respond rate over the last 5 years, right? So I'm the person who does not believe and I've worked with actors. I've been on TMZ with a client before. I've worked with rappers. I've worked with entertainers. I've had ball players that played in the NFL, played in the NBA as my clients in real estate. Like, trust me. I've been in that world. And a lot of them niggas be getting mad at me sometimes. Not all of them. A few of them be like, man, come on, you tripping. You being too hard on us. We just doing what we have to do. But it's like, if you think about the whole hood mantra, what is the end goal for a person in the hood?
Get out the hood.
You're the first person that said that. You're the first person who's ever answered that right. When they make their money and they're doing their acceptance speech, they make sure to emphasize that the end goal was to get the fuck out the hood. And there's no desire whatsoever to ever go back. Because now that they're around these new people, they see how basic these niggas over here are, and they'll never get it. They don't want it. I'm talking about in theory. And so we rely on celebrities to be our spokespeople, and they don't even fuck with us like that. You know, it's like, why would we send Little Baby to the White House to have a conversation? You know what I'm saying? And not send, you know, a Tim Jackson who... Or not even just me, Dr. Claude Anderson, who studied, you know, economics his entire life and has presented programs to Congress. Like, why send Little Baby? Why is it that, you know, what did Dave Chappelle say, you know, when he was watching the news during 9/11 and he was like watching MTV and they was like, we got Ja Rule on the phone. He was like, nigga, nobody want to hear what the fuck Ja Rule got to say in a time like this, right? But we've adapted, you know, the spokesman or the spokeswoman that has to have a blue check, that has to be a celebrity. And that's something that we as a people need to reverse and say, no. The change that I want to see has to come from me. So I know the question that you asked me, I don't believe that a celebrity or a ball player should ever speak for me, ever in life, ever. But I'm in the minority.
You think you're in the minority?
I 100% think I'm in the minority.
Okay.
Specifically working with kids and specifically working with men.
Okay.
Because I've hired these guys to come. Like, I've had guys come and speak, and it's like, oh man, I've been telling y'all this shit for 5 years. Like, I've written a book teaching you how to literally purchase real estate, and I compare it to the dope game because your thing is selling drugs. Like, that's where I come from. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I literally wrote a book, Real Dope, an in-depth comparison between real estate and the dope game. It shows you how to literally break down a brick. The brick is the product. Like, I don't make any money off of this book. 100% of the proceeds go to my nonprofit. But I wrote that book for my homeboys who always said, damn, man, what are you doing in real estate? I just got tired of having the conversation at the barbershop.
Right.
So it's like, I'm giving you this, and now a celebrity comes online and says, yeah, man, you know, we need to buy real estate. You damn right, Rick Ross. And it's just like, okay, I guess I'm glad that he's telling us to buy real estate, but it's just like, why should it take for a person who you don't have that type of access to tell you that for you to get it? I know it sounds like a generalization. I'm getting therapy vibes right now. I'm getting those, you know.
No, you good.
But why does it take that person to say something that a Tim or Kizzle is right here in front of you? You can literally pick up the phone and call us. And we can give you, hey, here's a real solution. Why should we have to beg you? Why does it take a celebrity to get you to see that?
I think we idolize celebrities a lot, right? So, and then what we end up doing is we put a lot of extra weight on whatever it is that they say.
That's a fact.
Because we think that because they're successful, that whatever it is that they say can also lead to our success. So if I see Rick Ross and I idolize Rick Ross, and Rick Ross is saying that we need to invest in real estate, shit, I'm going to invest in real estate because Rick Ross is as successful as I've ever seen a black person be. And so Rick Ross must know what he's talking about, right? So we equate success to being educated and well thought out in a subject or topic or whatever the case may be. And so whenever somebody is remotely successful says anything, we think of them as we think of it as the truth.
Let's talk about that. Let's pin that. You said, let's talk about what we equate success to in our communities, right? I was talking to my wife yesterday. And I said, you know, the majority of the dudes that I know growing up, even some of the shit that I've been through, like the streets mentality, the shit that we subscribe to, do you realize that we learned that shit in junior high?
Break that down.
Like, most of the cats that I know that joined gangs that was in the streets, like I knew cats that was selling crack, you know, when we were in 8th grade. You know what I'm saying? And then it went into their high school years like that. And my wife is an educator, and she specializes in secondary education. Okay. And she's like, yeah, you know, by the 5th grade, they already know if you're going to be in prison based on your reading level, right? But a lot of the shit that we ingrain in ourselves as the fabric of who we are is shit we learned in middle school and in high school. So now you fast forward to a person like me that's about to be down when they're 40, and my peer group is still basing their life, you know, how they deal with people, how they converse with people, how they solve problems, all of some shit they learned in junior high and high school. Like and the success that they saw was only based on, hey, you can go to the league. Hey, there's one person that's from this whole area. You know, I live in Dallas, which is 5th largest, you know, one of the largest metroplexes in the nation, the 5th largest media market. Everything is based on you could play for the Cowboys. You dig? So it's like when I go to the north side of town, those kids don't want to play for the Cowboys. They want to own the team. They want to be agents. They want to be judges. They want to be attorneys. They want to be doctors and lawyers. Why is it that we idolize people? Because that's all we see. So platforms like this is designed to put a Kizzle in front of someone who will listen to Tim. Because people listen to me. People listen to you. We put somebody new in front of them, like, oh, snap. He's got a program where he's teaching people about therapy. Oh, snap. Dre's got a program where he's teaching men that you can feel confidence in yourself if you just wear a certain item of clothes. Oh, man, you got this other program that's talking about how I can start, you know, get into government contracts with no experience. I just apply and take this course, and now I can start bidding on $1 million contracts with no experience. Oh, wait a minute. You mean to tell me I can start a cleaning business? You know, shout out to the Hartzogs. Like, I don't need a degree for that. You mean to tell me I don't have to go to college and spend $100,000 for a liberal arts degree to come out into the world and get a job that's paying me $40,000? Nothing wrong with that, because I don't have any issues with jobs. But we don't have exposure, but we have so much genius. We're some of the deepest thinkers that you'll ever meet. We're some of the most profound people you'll ever meet. But what we're putting our time, effort, and energy on is really a bunch of bullshit. And it's not our fault. It's based on that passing down of what I call, you know, the generational cycle. I don't believe in generational curses. I believe in generational cycles. We all follow that same cycle. If I saw my mom and dad arguing and yelling, that's how I'm going to think what communication is. So when you piss me off, why did you do that? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Now you got this kid that's watching me. Every time he fucks up, I'm yelling at him and cussing at him. Well, when he gets to school and starts acting out, well, where did he learn that from? He learned that from me. Where did I learn that from? I learned that from my parents. Where did they learn that from? They learned that from their parents. And it's just, at some point in the game, somebody's just going to have to say, hey, man, what were you thinking? Like, talk to me about that. What was on your mind? Like, walk me through. That's what me and my son, walk me through your thought process of when you did that. I'm not raising my voice at you. You're going to lose some privileges, but I'd rather you lose a few privileges for a week than for me to knock you out and beat your ass and then you feel like that I love you because I'm physically hitting on you, and that's how you articulate love when you get older. Because now when you get older, you're going to be beating on your kids and beating on your wife. But if that's all people see is that trauma, then they're going to perpetuate that trauma. And that's why I feel like we look up to celebrities, because when you look at TV, when you look at the visualization or the imagery of black people, it's always a performer who's winning. It's always someone that's doing a performance who makes it. I just go. I'm doing this documentary. I'm going back watching these archives, Kizzle, of just black people and black men. It's all a performance. Like, if you want to get on TV back then, hey boy, you better dance. You better shuck and jive. Getting a job down at the old mill in the old plant wasn't good. I mean, it kept the lights on, but I want a Cadillac. I want to go down there and then go buy me a Cadillac instead of buying me a piece of property. Right. So that was a rant. That went on for a while.
No, it's all good. No,
but that's kind of how I see it. Like, no, we don't need to look up to celebrities, and we need more people like you and more people like me and more people who are. I mean, I retired at the age of 37 financially. I don't have to do this shit, but I go out and I choose to do it. And when I reach out to the celebrities, like who the kids are saying they want to see, I've reached out to every celebrity in this city. You name them, I reached out to them. Like, hey, man, I went to this school and spoke, and I had about 500 kids, and they all said they want to be you when they grow up. What would it cost me to get you to come here just to say, hey, kids, you can be whatever you want to be. It could be a 15-minute talk. I don't care. Just come. I'll pay you. I don't want nothing for free. No response. But when you say that out loud, you hating.
Nah, that's not hating. I mean, if that's the truth, that's the truth, right?
Yeah.
I think for me personally, in the last few years, I've seen a change in the Black community. With platforms like Earn Your Leisure, platforms like mine, different platforms like yours, platforms like Black Wealth Renaissance, Black Menswear, you know what I'm saying? So I'm seeing a change where we're starting to prioritize the right things.
Yeah.
But with all change, it takes a little time, right? It's gradual. It's a slow progress, right? So I think once you made a point earlier that was very, very important, right? We can't be looking for saviors, right? Like and I think
Sundays,
that's what
Easter Sunday, man.
you know what I'm saying. I get it. I understand. Jesus ain't here right now. You know what I'm saying? I would love for him to be down here. I'd love for him to be out here performing miracles.
Yeah, we're talking about metaphorically.
Metaphorically.
Do not send this guy or me any hate mail because you're a religious person. We're talking about someone to physically come. And do something. So go ahead. Yeah, let me clean that up for you.
No, I get it. I understand, right?
Kizzle from Black Man Express Yourself.
That would be a clip. That would be a clip. But no, right? So he's always present, but what I'm saying personally is that he's not next to you for him to perform a miracle for you right now. You cannot be looking, and even if he was here, you still got to do work. You know what I'm saying? Like, you still have to have faith and believe in yourself. And so what I'm saying to anybody is we cannot be looking for saviors, especially not in human beings, right? Especially not human beings. Nobody down here right now is Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, right? So we have to be doing the work on ourselves. And one of the things I always tell people is one of my consistent messages is you have to tailor your feed, tailor what you're seeing, right? That goes for social media, that goes for real life, that goes for the people around you. You have to tailor what you're seeing and what you're feeding yourself. That's very, very important. What content are you consuming on a daily basis, right? Are you looking at soft porn all day on Instagram? Those Instagram models, the women that have OnlyFans, is that all you're looking at? What are you training yourself to be doing?
No, wait,
right?
You can't say that because these are human beings. Who
Please, right? What are you training yourself to be doing, right?
Yeah. But you saying it felt, you know what I'm saying? Like whenever, if me and you say, I'm a man and I know that. That looks good, but that ain't something I'm trying to, wife up. That's not something. I don't want to share that with the world. And this is the thing, right? And then we get beat up for that.
No, I'm not even talking about wifing up. I don't care about any of that, right? If that's who you want to be with, that's who you want to be with. I'm talking about what is that doing for you right now in your life, right?
You talking about mentally.
Yeah, mentally. What is that doing for you in your life right now, right? Like, there's a lot of men that aren't where they want to be right now, and all you're doing on Instagram is scrolling through looking at soft porn all day. We have to get out of that mindset, right? There's a lot of men that aren't where they want to be right now, and all you're doing is scrolling on Instagram and looking at arguments between black men and black women.
That's a fact.
What are you talking about? You want to be in a relationship, and then all the content you're consuming is pushing you in the opposite direction of the way that you want to go. All it's showing you is the drama and the strife in the black community instead of what you could actually be doing to nourish a healthy relationship with a black woman if that's who you want to be with, right? So we have to look at the content that we consume and what is it teaching us? Is it driving us closer to our goals and what it is that we want from our lives, or is it pushing us in the opposite direction? Do you want to get over that porn addiction, or do you want to keep on feeding it with the soft porn that you look at all day on Instagram? Do you want to get into a relationship with a black woman or a black man, or do you want to keep on looking at the disagreements, the debates, the drama, the strife inside the goofy shit inside the black community by following all these different platforms, right? So you have to be conscious of what it is that you're consuming. And I think a lot of us just get on social media, we go throughout our lives, and we're living lives on autopilot. Right? Like, we're allowing our subconscious, our inner child, all of these wounds to dictate the decision that we make. And then we're talking about is logic, and is logic over feelings. Like, nah, bro, you're not making logical, rational decisions right now. You're just operating off your feelings, and you're confusing it and disguising it with logic because you're not conscious enough of what's going on internally. And part of that work starts with you getting into therapy, talking to a coach, and understanding what your wounds actually are and how they show up in your life, right? And so this is why when we take it all the way full circle, why I prioritize the healing, right? Because a lot of black men think they're self-aware. They think they're so self-aware. I've done all this introspection. I know all this stuff about myself. Like, nah, bro. And you really don't.
Somebody come in and say something that triggers some shit that happened to you back in the 5th grade.
Exactly. And now you blacking on them, and you yelling, and you don't even understand why you acting out of character, and you trying to match people's low vibrational energy and all this different kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
When people, I'm gonna match energy. A friend of mine posted that, and I'm matching all energy, and I text them. I said, why would you stoop to someone's level? Like, I'm not matching your energy. Like, if you want to be on that bullshit, you be over that bullshit over there. Like, because now that I come down to you, I take on that energy, and now I got to walk into my home, a place that, you know, I try to make it sacred as I can. I always explain to my wife and kid, like, when I put up with enough shit out there, when I come home,
trying to chill.
I don't want to put up with no bullshit. You know, like, can you let me decompress just for 2 minutes when I come in, right? But if I'm matching energy, I'm walking in, why this shit ain't cleaned up? Oh, why you didn't do this? Why you didn't do that? It's like, no, I don't want to match. I'll never match your energy. If you want to be on that bullshit, you finna be on that bullshit by yourself.
That's a fact. That's what I tell black men all the time. That makes no point. It makes no sense to match low vibrational energy. We
always need to get our lick back, though. You know?
Yeah, I'm not with that, right? Like, I gotta let God get my lick back. You know what I'm saying? That's way better than me trying to enact revenge or match anybody's energy, right? And when your foundation is in faith, you understand, like, okay, God, all things are working out for my greater good, right? I don't need to try and enact revenge for anything. People have done me wrong, and I just leave it at that, bro. And I pray for me to get to a point where I can forgive them, and I'll allow God to take care of the rest and move on with my life. Because me putting that energy into trying to get back at somebody is taking me away from what I need to be doing for myself.
We're gonna wrap it up on this note, man. I ask this question with everyone who comes on the show.
What's up?
So, you know, one of my favorite movies is Back to the Future 2.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever seen the movie.
No, I haven't.
Oh, and now you're making me feel super old.
No,
it's all good. It's all good. Y'all watch it when y'all go. It's actually one of those series that you can literally watch 1, 2, or 3 whenever, because they always go back to the first one. But in Back to the Future 2, they went to the actual future. And, you know, there's a character by the name of Biff. Biff, when he gets to the 2025 or whatever it is, I think the time has already passed now, he realizes that he's broke. He doesn't have any money. He's in a terrible situation. Biff is just a horrible person. So he gets into the time machine, goes back to the 50s, sees himself, gives himself a sports almanac with all of the scores for every sports game from 1900 to 2000, whatever. And he says, hey, I'm you from the future. Take this book and start betting on these games and thank me later, right? And so he goes back, and when he arrives back to the present time, he's a trillionaire. He's pretty much running the world because he got that piece of information. So let's say you can go back to 18-year-old you. You know, you get into the DeLorean, you know, the time machine, and you're walking down a long, dark hallway, and you see 18-year-old you. And it's just the two of you all. You're coming up on each other, and he looks up at you, and he sees someone super familiar, like, I know this guy. You like, I'm you from the future, and I want to give you some information that's going to change our life. What would you say to him?
Get into therapy.
Get into therapy?
Right then and there. I say find a black therapist that you can trust and get into therapy. That would have saved me 2 years of my life if I had known that back then, right? Yeah. The reason why I say it would have saved me 2 years of my life is because what ended up happening was when I first dealt with depression and suicidal ideations, I, like most black men, tried to grind my pain away. So I tried to take my mind off of what I was experiencing. And so I would just dive into work. And I learned a lot of great things, and it helped me with my business then and now, but it didn't help me heal. So what ended up happening was I got into another relationship, right? So I got into another relationship, and I stayed in that relationship for way too long, right? Like, we're doing long distance. There's nothing wrong with doing long distance, right? But what I was seeing was we weren't agreeing, or we weren't able to come to solutions on some big things in the relationship. She didn't want to get married. I wanted to get married. You know what I'm saying? She didn't believe in marriage. I believed in marriage, right?
Don't do it. No, I'm messing with you, bro.
Nah, you're good.
Don't do it. No, I'm teasing y'all. Me and my wife joke all the time. I'm gonna have to ask you a follow-up question because I feel like I'm about to get stole off on.
No, you're good. No, you're good.
But go ahead. She didn't want to get married.
Yeah, she didn't want to get married. I wanted to get married, right? She didn't want to have kids. I wanted to have kids. Yeah. These are big things in a relationship. You can't huge. And I'm thinking like, okay, I can make it work. I can convince her. I can figure things out, right? Ended up wasting 2 years. Not wasting 2 years. We ended up staying in a relationship for 2 years, and then I got cheated on towards the end of that relationship. I don't blame myself for being cheated on. What I do take accountability for is not peeping the red flags or peeping the red flags and trying to paint them green. You know what I'm saying? Trying to turn them into like, okay, nah, these are just things that we can work on. Nah, there's some things that you reach a point in a relationship is not any working on it. You're at a crossroads. It's time for you to make a decision. It's either you keep on trying to bang your head against this wall, well, or you accept them for who they are, you stay in a relationship with them, or you dip. And I should have dipped a long time before I ever got cheated on. And the reason why I didn't dip is because I wasn't comfortable in my singleness. I wasn't comfortable being my own individual. And therapy at the age of 18 would have helped me with that, because I got into that relationship at the age of 20, like 19, 20, 21 or something like that.
He was young, man. Oh, that's the, yeah. We all do that shit.
So exactly, right? But if I had gotten to therapy, I would have been able to identify those things and work on those things, so that by the time it was time for me to really start searching for a relationship again, I'd have been in a way different space. I would have been in a way different space. So the answers to me would have been get into therapy, get you a black therapist that you can really trust, that you feel comfortable with, and start talking about some of these things that you're going through and how you feel. I
have a very interesting theory on marriage.
What's up?
We're not gonna do that.
We can get into it a little bit.
We got 5 minutes.
Yeah, we got some time. We got a little time. Yeah,
all right,
go ahead.
I'm giving this is to everybody. This is some game, okay? All right. Do not get married for love. You do not never marry for love.
Why you say that?
No one ever asks for their love back at divorce proceedings. Okay. You know, me and my wife always joke. But we are so truthful when we say this, that we did not marry each other for love. You know, marriage is a business. That's why you need a license to operate it. And so what happens is that we're taught, we've been taught marriage all wrong in the black community. We've been taught marriage all wrong, period. The whole concept of marriage changed around the 50s when the whole American dream concept came. Prior to that, marriages were arranged. You married, and even within the black community, you married Jimbo's daughter down the street because, you know, Jimbo's a welder and I'm this. And like, even America's really the only society left that doesn't really do arranged marriages, right? And so what I tell people, specifically young people who look like they love each other, is if you're basing the foundation of your relationship on love, it will always fall apart. Because people always fall out of love. I'd rather be liked than loved, because when you like somebody, you want to be around them. When you love someone, you tolerate them. Think about your family members. Think about those family. Look how he looking, y'all. I'm gonna put the camera on him real quick.
I'm thinking.
When you think about it, think about those family members that you just never go around. You love them. Think about those friends that you don't talk to anymore. You love them, but you don't like them too much. You don't like them because of who they are inside. And love, it dissipates. It's an emotion. Love and hate are on the same spectrum. I can literally tell you I love you today, or I'm in love with you today, and you can say or do one thing to me that makes me feel some kind of way, and then I hate you. But if that's what the foundation of the relationship is on, it will always lose. When me and my wife got together, we both had a specific set of goals that we wanted to accomplish in life. And we both understood that it would be a lot more beneficial to the both of us to attempt to accomplish those goals together and build something together that can't be broken. And do I love my wife? Of course. Does she love me? Of course. But it wasn't based on, like, we were together buying real estate together before we even got married. You understand what I'm saying? We were building our wealth before we even got married. As they say down here in the South, we was shacking up. Yeah, I was getting that cow before I got the milk. I got in that milk before I bought the cow. You dig? But here's the thing. Even when shit ain't the way it's supposed to be, the foundation is based on the respect that we have for each other. The foundation is based on knowing that, you know, I told her when we first got together and I start pursuing my goals of, you know, starting my real estate company and, you know, just really going in on the investment shit. I'm like, hey, if you give me 6 months, you'll never have to work a fucking day in your life. Just give me 6 months. And I hit it. I hit it at 6 month period. And we got to a point when we were together that she came home one day and she was like, I can't stand this job. I don't like my boss. I don't like yada yada. I said, then quit that motherfucker, man. Like, what we doing here? Like, I've already, you know, taken up my end of the bargain. And she wrote up a 2 weeks notice. He wrote up an immediate notice. And we took it up there and she dropped it off on the desk. She grabbed her shit and that was it. Like, that's based on strategy. Right? Because if I'm not, I need to know that if something happens to me, that this ship that we've created will be able to go on. Our kids will be able, I don't believe in that, you know, generational wealth is a mindset. I don't believe in, you know, my son has to be a real estate broker and an investor. No, he can do whatever the fuck he wants to. He just needs to have a foundation over here economically that will finance what he wants, right? And that doesn't start with love. That starts with discipline. And a lot of times we love people but there's no discipline in that love. There's no consistency in that love. It's just a feeling. And just like an orgasm, that feeling will go away. And as soon as it comes out, you know, then you don't feel that way no more. That's why I tell cats, man, go. If you feel like you need to cheat on your girl, go jack off. Get that nut out of you. It's crazy, right?
No,
but because once you get that feeling off, and then it's like, I know you just talked about the sexual stuff. I'm just talking about theory. Like you, that feeling comes out of you, and once that feeling is released, you don't feel that way no more. So if I meet you and I don't feel like that you can benefit me long term and I can't benefit you, like I can't take you from where you are to where you want to be. When you sit down and you talk to me about your goals, when you talk to me about what it is you daydream about when you're in the shower, what it is that you're driving down the street when you're not listening to music, if I can't help you get to that goal and you can't see that I'm going to perpetuate that and be there for you, then you don't need to be with me. Just because I look a certain kind of way or I make you feel a certain kind of way or we have good sex, that doesn't mean that we should be together. That goes back to that therapy. That goes back to we're just trying to go after a feeling. We're not going after a foundation. You understand what I'm saying?
That's a bar. You gotta say that again.
That's a bar. You know what I'm saying? I got so many of them. You know what I'm saying?
Say that again.
Yeah, we're not trying to go after a feeling. We're going after a foundation. And it's like when that's just what it is. And that's what you need to search for. Like you need to find somebody that's going to build that foundation with you because marriage is a business. That's why you need a license to operate it. That's why you have to pay taxes on your marriage. That's why when you have to separate and dissolve the business when you guys get away. That's why a person gets a certain portion of that business when it dissolves. I mean, there's property entailed in that marriage. If you have children, like them people gonna be all in your business, man. So get your shit together on the front end, so it won't be no shit on the back end. But too often, oh man, you the love of my life, you my soulmate. Oh, I just think about you all day long. That's not productive. You know what I'm saying? If you're thinking about somebody all day long, shit, when you gonna get the business done? Like you gotta create something for this person. You know what I'm saying? You gotta create something for this person to come home to, or go to, bro. Like, you want me to think about you all day long over here in this broke ass situation, or can we be thinking about each other all day long in the Maldives? You know what I'm saying? It's not all about money. It's just about you should be able to wake up in that relationship. If you ain't waking up in that relationship, I'm gonna look over here. If you ain't waking up in that relationship feeling like if something were to happen to either one of us, that things will be able to keep going, then you in the wrong relationship. You know what I'm saying? Because if I lose an arm or if I lose a leg, you gonna love me the same? Right? Or is it a physical thing? I can't fuck you the way you want to be fucked no more. If I get Lou Gehrig's disease, if something bad happens to me, is that love gonna sustain you, or are you gonna be like, well, I did all I did, but my needs need to be met, right? So I know you wasn't shit. You knew I wasn't shit from the beginning. You saw how we were. Why are you gonna try to make that work? And too often our pride won't let us say that out loud. We wanna, and I listen. I know this is a holy day for Christian religion. We follow these old principles based off of emotion. And it's like, no, like, don't marry somebody for love. Loving them should be the cherry on top, not the cake.
I like that.
Yeah.
Here's what I say, right? I always tell people love isn't enough for a relationship.
Yeah.
Not even marriage, right? Not even just, we can go down to as simple as a relationship. Love isn't enough just to make a relationship work. You guys can love each other all you want, but y'all could be completely incompatible in terms of being people, right? Like if you love somebody, they want to go to Alaska and you want to be in New York, like
shout out
that,
to Anchorage.
You know what I'm saying? I know. But
I lived there.
Oh, you did? Word? Damn.
I actually lived in Anchorage.
I try to say something. I try to say like the craziest.
See, that's that. I be telling y'all, when you on the same page with people, y'all gonna always connect with each other. You gonna have the same thoughts. It ain't too many people out there doing what the fuck we doing because it's a small playing field. So that wasn't irony. That was a part of the plan.
That was alignment. Yeah, but I say love isn't enough, and the reason why is because if y'all don't have, but what you talked about is future planning. Right? If the plans that you guys have for each other or for yourselves as individuals don't line up, y'all could love each other all y'all want, but y'all are going in different directions, right? And it doesn't make sense for you to try and force somebody into the direction that you're going because now you're trying to change somebody into being who you want them to be rather than who they are.
You'll be miserable.
Right. And either you will be miserable because they're not changing, or they will be miserable because they have to change into who you want them to be, right? So love isn't enough. That's why it's important for people to intentionally date Intentionally dating means you understand who that person is instead of you just lusting after them. Or you thinking that, okay, this will work just because we love each other. Like, nah, bro. There's some questions that we need to ask. There's some conversations that we need to have in order for us to figure out whether or not where we're going actually lines up and makes sense. So I agree with what you're saying, right? Love isn't enough, and it shouldn't be something that people fully... You said moving together? Yeah. I think everybody has their own preferences. I've seen some stuff. I personally would like to move in with my partner, but I've seen some stuff where people like, yo, I want to have separate houses.
Hey, let me tell you something. Moving. Listen, you find out. Listen, I know this goes against everything that most people who are watching this, if you're, the religious people, man, you better move in with her.
I believe in that.
She better move in with you. That you learn, you see a totally different side. The farts smell different when you live together. Like, it's just a lot of shit that you have to ask yourself. Is this forever? Right? Can I do this forever? And that's why so many people, he laughing like a bug. I said the fart smell different when you move in with a man. It do. Like, and I know that's like down here in the South, we call it shacking up. I don't know what y'all call it up in the North. But
it's around the same, yeah.
Yeah, like get in, move in with them. Like even if it's just 6 months, move in with them. Because you got to know if they clean. You got to know how they keep a house. How you keep a house. Are you clean? Are you a nasty motherfucker? Like, are you a person that's got to be told if you got to tell this person to do the same thing over and over and over for picking up their drawers, how they gonna do the same? This could be a whole nother podcast. Like I literally have come to the conclusion that most of the shit that I was taught growing up was bullshit. And that's why I felt like, for me personally, because I'm an advocate of therapy, that I felt like that I hit a brick wall because I was subscribing to rules that no one was using to play the game of life. That it was more so of a facade of how we should look in front of people. But then when we went home, we took off this mask, and it was some old other shit. And I would notice things. I'm just like, no, that's not what we're supposed to be doing. And I was always the one person that brought like, hey, something's not right about this. And I would get in trouble for it. You know what I'm saying? Then so as I got older, I rebelled, and I was like, hey, motherfucker, you need to do your shit together. Now that I'm a little older, it's like, you get more with honey than you do with vinegar. But what I've come to the conclusion of, specifically in the last 2 years, is that most of the shit that we were taught growing up is bullshit. And when you get out into the world and you start meeting people and start seeing people and learning people and just like, damn, like that person isn't who I thought they were. That's not a them thing. That's a you thing, because you've created this false perception of who you think someone should be based on your own insecurities or based on your own ideologies or based on who you're afraid to be. Right. And when I got out of that shit, when I finally was like, they just a hoe ass nigga. Like, it ain't nothing wrong with them. That's who they are. Like, and honestly, they not really even a hoe ass nigga. They just doing what they know best. Like, everyone's not solid. Everybody ain't gonna. I call people all day long. Me and you been texting each other. I didn't know if you was gonna hit me back, and if you wouldn't hit me back, I wouldn't have took that shit personal. But there's people out there right now. Damn, man, this dude. We feel like there's a sense of entitlement.
Right, there's a sense of entitlement.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we feel like that everyone should see things our way, based on this ideology that we've been taught that everyone should see things our way. And I'm like completely going against that. So don't get married for love. Shack up with your girl. If they won't pick the drawers up off the floor, they ain't gonna pick up their attitude. Get therapy.
Put that in there. Yeah.
And make sure you subscribe to my boy here. Listen, we finna wrap it up, man. What's something you want the people to know? Where can they find you at, my guy?
Absolutely, yeah. So you guys can find me on Express Yourself Black Man on all platforms. That's TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. If you guys are interested in the Safe Haven platform, just go to www.expressyourselfblackman.com/safe-haven. And that will take you to the wait list right now. Depending on when this releases, I don't know when this will actually release. We may not have the wait list anymore, so you may be able to enroll. Right now, we have the wait list because we have 200 black men in Safe Haven, over 200 black men in Safe Haven, and we're revamping the platform so that we can scale and be able to onboard and bring black men in and make sure that they have the best experience possible. So we have over 200 black men in Safe Haven. We have over 200 black men signed up for the wait list. So definitely sign up for the wait list. And then also, depending on when this releases, we'll also have a Mother's Day webinar that we're going to be doing. Yeah, so we're going to be taking black men through how to heal mother wounds, because a lot of us have mother wounds. And we're also going to be taking black men teaching black men how to find a black therapist, right? So talking them through the process of what they need to do, as soon as they start thinking that they want to get into therapy, to reaching out to therapists, to why it's hard to find Black therapists, what to do when you reach out to therapists, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to be running those webinars again in May. So for anybody that's interested in that, you guys can find all of the information that I just said in the link in our bio. And if you can't find the link in our bio through Instagram for some reason, you can go to expressyourselfblackman.com/links, and that'll have all the links for you guys to get into Safe Haven, to find the podcast, for you to find the webinars, all of that good stuff, man. So I appreciate you having me, Tim.
Absolutely. And listen, I appreciate you for coming. I know it was kind of a short notice thing, but like I'm the type of person, man, if I feel like something needs to be done, I just ask.
Nah, let's do it, yeah.
The worst the person can tell me is no. And everything
Right.
that he mentioned is going to be in the show notes. So you'll be able to find his page, you'll be able to find his Instagram, access to the courses. Get tapped in if this is something that you feel like you need. But you all, that's all I have for you today. I just want to say thank you all for listening. I appreciate all the love you guys on Instagram. Man, we've grown like 19,000 followers in the last 60 days. Like that's huge, you guys. And that's because people need these conversations. There's not conversations about Black men. There's not a space where Black men in general can come and just say, hey, you know, I grew up and I subscribed to this thing and it just doesn't really fit me now. And now I'm ready to do something different. So that's what we're here for. Get tapped into the $9 Academy. I'll be in Vegas this coming up weekend. I'll be in Philly a couple weeks after that. Be in Jacksonville, Florida after that. The 10, how to purchase a property in any market tour. Listen, it's going down, you guys. I'm going around the United States, putting my own money up, putting up my own resources to teach you all about the importance of home ownership. I honestly feel like if you purchase one home, it'll change your life. And if you're in an area like Oakland, California, or you're in Brooklyn, New York, where it's tough to buy real estate, I'll show you exactly what you need to do to purchase real estate in other areas and connect you with people who can assist you with it so that you can start that process. So how much does it cost to come to these events? They're free, as you know. What am I selling at these events? Not a damn thing. I have my $9 Academy. That's really it. There's no hidden agendas, no smoking guns, no gotchas. At this point in the game, it's giving you the information and it's on you to take advantage of it. So with that being said, that's all I got. Like, follow, subscribe at No More OGs for the podcast. Share also at Tim Jackson Now. You guys, this is the No More OGs podcast. I'll see you soon.